wife's glasses though.
Okay, you were all
Bummer.
Are they working though?
Yeah, they're readers, so it's all right. They're red.
You could go in almost any room in my house, then Mike, you'd be able to read whatever you are. I got it.
You got a pair in every room?
I do.
You're immortalized on YouTube, it's good.
Go easy on me.
Okay, it's 8:01. We'll go ahead and begin the August 16th, 2023 Chenango County IDA regular meeting by roll calling ourselves in.
Raymond here. Corey here.
Woodford here?
Blanchard here.
Burton here. Okay, agenda item number 2, IDA mission statement. Everybody remembers we asked Sal to kind of look over the 3-minute dissertation of our previous mission statement, where we continuously, every time we took on a new business or had any other dealings with any sort of business that wasn't listed in there, we would change the mission statement to list that type of industry individually. Didn't make sense. It was starting to get awful long. So what we did is we asked Sal to take a look at it and minimize it. It should be kind of an elevator statement, right? Your elevator pitch. And I think Sal's been able to get that down to that. If you turn to the last page in your packet, the new statement reads, and actually since, I'm sorry, R.C. Woodford is with us today. I'm so sorry, R.C.
Oh, that's okay.
We did all those introductions beforehand, but R.C. Woodford is our newest member of the Chenango County IDA, as appointed by the Chenango County Supervisor. R.C., welcome aboard. We're very happy to have you. Your name was thrown around a lot when we were trying to think about board members. Our biggest fears, you would say,
No.
But I know after some careful consideration, you accepted, so we appreciate that.
Thank you very much, I definitely look forward, I appreciate the opportunity and I look forward to
That's great, thank you. Our original mission statement, I'll read for your benefit, RC. Our mission is to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, construction, reconstruction, improving, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing industrial, manufacturing, warehousing, commercial, agricultural, research, and recreation facilities, including industrial pollution control facilities, green energy solutions, educational or cultural facilities, railroad facilities, and continuing care retirement communities. To provide financial assistance and thereby advance the job opportunities, workforce development, job growth and retention, health, general prosperity, economic welfare of the people of the county of Chenango, and to improve their recreation opportunities, prosperity, and standard of living. So as you can see, that's a lot, and none of us are saying that when somebody asks, what is the idea of this? Because you can't remember it. So the new statement has been condensed quite significantly, and it's much more general. It says, it is the mission of the Chenango County IDA to advance the health, prosperity, and welfare of the county's citizens by helping to retain, create, and attract new businesses through appropriate investments and incentives. In a nutshell. So, feedback, comments, concerns, additions, omissions, anything.
On the research of it, I researched dozens of them, just trying to go through and see who did what where. And I tried to take what I thought made sense to me from what we were trying to do up here, what you were trying to do, and say, is there anything contained in the upper paragraph that I couldn't cover in a more general statement? And I didn't think so, but I thought it was inclusive enough to be able to say whatever we needed to do to invest in our community, we could if it was appropriate. And I thought it was important to say appropriate.
Any other feedback, questions?
I like the idea that retain is in there because many times a lot of the existing businesses feel a little marginalized when you bring new people in. So they're at least noted and appreciated.
Do you want a comma after attract new so that it says like retain businesses, create and attract new businesses? So that way it's kind of.
Retain,
Wait, comma after
If you
words?
put a comma after new, it
Huh?
shows like retain businesses, so it's not just retain, create, and attract new businesses. It kind of makes it more
Broken up.
specific to that.
I'll defer to somebody who's an excellent English back.
English was not my forte.
My Heartbreak's Handbook is
I'm gonna search
the
the
first
first
look at. Yeah.
What's everybody think? Comma? No comma?
I understand what you're saying. It might not even be appropriate there. It might, Shane's right. It might be by citizens to help them to retain current and create and attract new
You just take,
businesses.
or just take new out.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
right. Retain, create, and attract businesses. I like that. I like that a lot. Then you don't need that. Because then it new is what's throwing that statement off, and Shane's right. And I don't, like scratching out new, then you don't do that. I think that makes sense.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the new mission statement with the edit of removing new business, the word new. If we're ready to move forward with it. So move, okay, can I get a second?
Of course, I can.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Raymond, I.
Corey, I.
Wood for that.
Bird and I. Great, thanks,
Read
everybody.
that statement up on the, on our website today.
Okay, item number 3, the minutes from the July 19th meeting, regular meeting are in your packet. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look it over.
And RC, just for a second, Brian.
Yeah.
Just so you don't think we whacked RC, the reason we went back and forth, and that was the last item, and in fact, normally Brian would read the mission statement, so we wanted to make sure that we got the new one before, that's how we would open every meeting. So that's why we started it like that. Normally we would go into the mission statement reading and then the finances, but we covered that.
It got to the point I was waving it in the interest of time.
I can understand why.
Yeah. So if everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Got a first by Jeff, second? Second by Pete. Any discussion, omissions, or corrections? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Raymond, I.
Corey, I.
Wood for that.
Blanchard, I.
Bert and I. Okay, July 31st financials. Kathy Jo, you're up.
Okay. So the checking has about 47,000 in it. The money market is at 876,000. Accounts payable is current. And net activity is 212,000 for the year. If you go to page 2, the age receivables, Highbridge Wind payment did come in August 1st, so that will show up in the next financial report. We are still waiting on Puckett Solar. Norwich Alvagen did pay theirs. And then the next page is age payables, which they're all current.
We sent the review letters out. We'll look at the next process and take whatever the next step is in the collection process. But Hybrid paid, we sent the letters out to everybody else and they paid.
I think with Norwich Alvagen, we had the wrong address. It was going to
Yeah,
the
we were
wrong.
sending it to the wrong address. We had the wrong state, frankly. We were sending it to Milford, New Jersey, and it was Milford, New York. I don't remember the right one, but that's exactly what was going on. That was it.
So in Highbridge's defense as well, we billed the wrong amount originally.
Correct. Yep.
So,
I billed the same amount as the first payment, and I forgot that year 2 changed. And then year 3 through 20 will be a set amount. So,
that billing error was about 50,000.
Yes.
Right? So
Yep.
we're glad we
Yep.
took the extra time.
Yeah, we're glad.
And then page 4 and 5 is the income statement, and year-to-date net activity is 212,000.
So just real quick, we're currently ahead of budget, which is good because if you remember correctly, last year when we presented the budget, we were gonna have about a $60,000 shortfall in the original budget that we had to kind of close the gap on. And, you know, there's not a lot we can cut from, right? It's not like we're all getting paychecks here. This is all volunteer, so there's not a lot of places that we could cut and come up with another 60,000. But we ended up we in the original budget, it didn't have the sale of the Clark Park and the building over in Bainbridge. So we made up that 60,000 pretty quickly. So don't get fooled by a $47,000 better than budget number right now as the year produces. Remember, we would have had to have made up probably at least that 60,000 again this year as well. So when we get closer, probably November, we'll have a good idea. I think they're planning the budget season to start in October.
We're gonna start, Captain Joe and I have started already reviewing. She sent me some financials Monday, Tuesday, Monday. And we'll start our process, and then we'll start it with Kurt and the rest of the group start in October.
Okay.
We'll have original meeting will be September 28th to set the budget schedule, and then we'll have another finance meeting on October 28th to set the budgets.
Good, so, okay. So,
Yep, that's it.
Any
Unless you
other
have any questions.
Things that we can control, like contract services, are down. So the things that we can control, we're trying to control as much as we can, and we will continue.
Yeah, we're ahead of budget in contracted services too, which is good. I think we proposed about $13,000 a month for contracted services, and then it seems to average somewhere around 10.5.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And we're doubling our interest.
Correct.
Well, we're more than doubling it.
We're getting, July was 2,200
2,200.
for the money market. Yep.
Yeah. So we've made up, what has that been, about 3 months now? that
3
we've been
months.
doing
Yes.
that? So
Yep.
at least about an extra 20,000 in interest this year over last year at this point. So,
And with the money from Highbridge and Norba Solar, that'll be more to transfer to the money market. So it'll bring in more
Good.
interest.
cha-ching.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all that stuff will help make up that budget shortfall that we would have had last year.
Yeah, and trust me, I'll look for places to close the gap everywhere.
And you know, as long as things kind of stay status quo at this point, we'll be just fine. So, do you know how much Highbridge got to pay next year?
I think it's back down to like 100,000.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Any other comments on the financial reports? Okay, hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve the financial statements. Need a second? Seconded by Jeff. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Raymond, aye.
Corey, I
Woodford, I.
Roger, aye.
Kurt, aye. Sorry, you don't get all this out. July checks. So we got our contracted services, which again is less than we budgeted. Warner's gas service. Barb, is Barb in here? Is that the final bill on that? What, because they're switching, right?
He said he was going to switch and I haven't heard back from him, from Matthias, so I'll reach out and see if they ever went and did that.
Okay, so what we're talking about is everything Bagelary has asked if he could switch gas companies. We pay for it up front. He pays us back, with it being our building. We said, sure, if you want, I mean, technically he's paying it, as long as there's no associated cost with switching. So for instance, if the new company if the old company charges for removal of the tank, he's gotta pay for that if he wants to switch, so. Okay. And preferred mutual, 3,500, I assume insurance, right?
Correct, for 5 Walnut Ave. Cambridge.
All right, as long as there's no questions on that, I'll accept the motion for the checks to be paid.
Move.
Okay, first by Pete, need a second?
Second.
Oh, Mike Corey on the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Freeman,
Corey, aye.
Woodford, aye.
Blanchard, aye.
Burton, aye. Okay, Executive Director report. Sal, you're up.
Yeah, I won't take too long. I just wanted to quickly talk a little bit about the Taste of Chenango, because obviously it's one of the things that we're trying to do to create economic, be an economic catalyst here is to create greater tourism. We had the event at the fairgrounds on the 26th, 27th it was. And we had over 3,000 people there. I'm not trying to exaggerate when people estimated the crowd. Mary Wyman personally came out, she came over twice and said that when the grounds are full, she estimates 5,000 people. And that's what they do for the demolition derby. And she said the Infield was well over half full. And she said, I would comfortably guess you're around 3,000 people. Mindy Chago was at the Four Towns Forward in Sydney, and she said there were clearly more people there. We had traffic backed up from, I'm not proud of it because we had to call the police, but from the Burn Dairy all the way down to the fairgrounds, all the way down to Bill Rapp. My wife called me 3 times because she couldn't get over the bridge until we found it. Tracy Chago had to break the gate open because we didn't get the key. We had to buy a new lock because we couldn't get that gate open down there. Thank God we sent the police down and cleared up. It was very successful. It was free to the people in Chenango County. We charged the vendors to set up, and Chobani and NBT stepped up to pay for the entertainment. So it wasn't a lot of revenue. Wow. We probably took in $8,000, I think, roughly, and we spent roughly $7,500. So I mean, like literally we gave it about even, but we had a bunch of people come in. The first group of people were from Binghamton. There was a motorcycle group that come down from the North Country. There were easy 20 motorcycles doubled up. When it rained, thank God it rained because the vendors would have left because they were sold out. Bobby Jeffrey said he was packed in the car museum because people were looking for things to do. I think that kind of stuff is what works. I was in Bainbridge yesterday talking to Zara, trying to create some of this same type of energy in other places in the county and say, with the canoe regatta, we should be doing the same thing. Advertising what else there is to do while you're there, and that's something we're working on hard. And I know I talked to Mike and Jeff about a lot. They go in front of our CCIDA hear me in front of that. You're gonna hear it again on Thursday, but it's something that we're trying hard to do. I know Matt at Gladstone has some ideas around that ecotourism and what it can do. We're working with him right now on the Rocket Board. We have some ideas there on how to make that Northern Fortress the racer. So you'll start to see that. We're putting some money behind that. County gives us money to make sure we do those types of things. So I was happy with it. We think we can expand it. We're going to center it around our agricultural heritage. We'll have a touch a tractor thing there next year. We think we can get 5,000 people down that fair. We're going to try like crazy. So hopefully it works. That's what I want to let you guys know.
I was there about 3 o'clock, and the first 2 vendors I talked to were scared to death that they were gonna run out of product. Well before 7 o'clock, one of them, expressed that, it could be an early day, but yeah, the rain hit hard about 4 o'clock, and it was a mass exodus. But it was a great event. I was shocked when I showed up. The parking lot in the infield of the fairgrounds was full. There was a ton of people. The layout was spectacular.
Mindy Chago did that. She was the organizer. She was the driving force behind getting people there. She was absolutely, she deserves all that. And she did it. Culver Chenango is going to get a gift card for what she did because she did so much. She did it for nothing. And just so you know, we paid her more than $20,000 to do what she did last year for that 1 year. $20,000. She did it for nothing. And she did a wonderful job. She did a wonderful job.
So it turned out really, really nice.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate it rained, but
Yeah, even with the rain, there was quite a few people.
That's fun.
That's
That's
yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. We'll build on that next year. Well, I liked it because when people come through, it was whole families. There was stuff for everybody to do, and it was free to get in, but it wasn't free, so you didn't have all kinds of people like just. It was really an economic thing. It was really something people were. I mean, the guy from Columbus Public House was really worried. He cooked 280 chickens. He waited until he didn't want to be ready until 4 o'clock, and he was a little late with the rain, and he still sold all of them at 40. He could not have been happier. He said. So I think we're working on it. I just wanted you guys to know that. It didn't cost us a lot of money. That 8,000 of revenue income is purely, we spent more to promote that, obviously, the marketing budget, that's what you guys paid for. And that, we spent probably $5,000-6,000 to promote that, just so you know, they spent 10 last year to promote it. We spent all that money with a local company, Impact Marketing, so that it blew out all over the region to try to get people to come in. But it was also supported through the local paper, so it helped our economy here as well.
Good, thanks for the update, Sam. Moving on, does anybody have any more questions, comments, concerns for Seth? Good. Pilots, everything bagel related. So, business is good for them. That's probably an understatement. And one of the things that I think that we as the IDA need to do is really promote this as a success for one of the things the IDA does. Because I'm guessing their success does not happen without our help. We put them in that building they're in now. And they've grown astronomically since being in that building, to the point that they are questioning us now whether they can just finally buy us outright. And they are also looking for a bigger space as well. I know we had some reservations when the business plan was appointed, but so far, everything that's been in that verbal business plan has come to fruition. I know there were some things like airports and stuff like that were like, it looks like it's happening, stuff like that.
He came back, Brian, Matthias came back with his business partner, the operations, I can't think of the young man's name, but I will. They came back and met with us last week, and they Taylor, did you say?
Tyler.
Tyler, thank you. They came back and specifically to say that they wanted to thank this group, to say that the IDA was the reason why they were where they were. And he also, this young man started this bagel business, Matthias, because the other kid was a baker. Matthias actually had a business in Texas, and he still does, a production company, music production company, and he wants to relocate it here. It was shut down during COVID. That's why he started this business with this young man that he's known. That's been successful. They want to try to buy an 80,000 square foot building. And I put him in touch with a couple realtors, and they were asking about more appropriate bankable financing. So we put them in touch with some people there to try to help them figure out how to finance that. They want to move it all to Chenango County. So it'd be great if they could. They were very serious. I was very impressed.
80,000 square feet.
Say it again?
80,000.
That's what he said. And it has to
I
have.
know that Woods Corner, what else is out there?
I don't know, that's a big.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of buildings.
That's a big building. So, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I did see, speaking of your Woods Corner facility, I saw somebody from Chobani, she did say it was a secret, so Kathy Christopherson is the person that's been working on that. Supposedly that building is sold. Supposedly they have a realistic buyer, and it's some organic mushroom farm in Oxford. So are you familiar with them, Shane, at all? They process or make organic, like not, it kind of goes to high-end restaurants, different things like that.
There was a farmer just down the road from my house in Smithville that was doing mushrooms and moved, and I don't know where they went, but it could be the same.
I mean, I'm legitimately, it's so funny because I was quoted in the paper that day that kid we were talking about Acadia Energy, and it was, I said, geez, I don't like, for example, I don't know if we'll ever be able to sell that. And the young man, Shane McGrath, quoted me in the paper, Chobani plan to be much more. I see Kathy Christopherson the very next day. She goes, I think we got that plan sold, but you didn't help us at all. I was like, oh man. So it was just a funny coincidence. So she was pretty serious about it. I don't know where they are, but they might have a buyer for that. No.
Good. Awesome. So good. So again, when people ask you what's the IDA do, you can point to everything page early.
It'll be a full page in our annual report, which is a little late because we had some printing issues. But it'll be a full page in our annual report about the idea.
Smyrna Solar Project. So in our last meeting, we talked a lot about decommissioning, and in your packet, there's a couple of items as far as solar projects, best practices, policies. There's one packet that's specific to decommissioning solar panel systems. So where are we with, so the verbiage that was in the that's in the contract right now for the pilot basically states that they have the economic ability to decommission, and there's a guarantee with that. Our attorneys originally said, yep, you're fine, da-da-da. We don't feel that's good enough, right? We want specific verbiage in place, whether it be a bond of some sort, whether it be a lien against a financial account, something of that nature that guarantees not just that they're financially sound and secure. If they've done that with a CD that's used for decommissioning, much like rattle banks do, that's fine too, but we want proof of it. And, you know, that this isn't just, oh, they got a hefty bank account now, because when it comes time for them to move on, what's that bank account look like? And oh, by the way, if they file bankruptcy, have they switched companies? So there was a lot there that we think about every time we do one of these. So where are we at?
Yeah, so again, Mike raised the question, and we do, what the lawyers, the confusion was, our agreement with the solar firm says we have the ability to put some kind of financial requirements in place, but we didn't have the specifics of those financial requirements. So again, I just started, just do some research on what would that be look like. New York State has guidance on what it should look like, right? So then you take that and say, okay, what have other people done with it? And somebody close in, Tyler County has one, a decommissioning agreement, and it talks about, I'm not a lawyer, but I would suggest, and I didn't want to do that without talking to you guys and burning money to say, hey, is this an appropriate decommissioning bond for us? We have our lawyers work with this. It would have to be Tyler County, it says Chenango County. I would get some help from Shane and others to take a look at this first, because they've done this. They helped us with a decommissioning bond. I don't profess to be intelligent enough about it. It's literally like a bail bond. So somebody puts up a little bit of money and gets an insurance policy from somebody else. Shane has helped us do that with a couple of other RFPs that we recently put out, along with Eric Scribner. So I just have him look at this and say, does this look like it would make sense for us? Is there anything you think should make any sense? He has more knowledge than me. Rather than burn the lawyer's time and look at all this, if there's some simple things that he thinks we should change, I would work with him. And then if it does, I'd say, okay, why wouldn't we just I'm asking, why would we just create this and say, okay, any solar programs that go forward, pass it by Steve Harris, pass it by Shane, pass it by our lawyers, and say, would this make sense? Because then we can just take good ideas and copy them. Everybody that wants to do a solar project with us understands what the parameters are. I'm just asking. I don't know how to move it forward.
So quickly looking at this, this has everything that I think would suffice our needs. It has exact dollar amounts. It requires 150% of the estimated decommissioning removal cost to be bonded. It requires a decommissioning bond that names the town, the village as the lost payee on it. I like it. We've already held this project up at least another month. So my recommendation of this would be to have Sal move forward with the attorney review, make sure it's something that legally is binding. It looks like it. I'm sure it wouldn't be in this packet if it isn't, but I always like to get our attorney's opinion on stuff. And if that's the case, get it submitted in with the rest of the packet. Also, I guess the other thing we talked about was term on that. We didn't want to exceed 15 years, and we were currently at 20, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. Our UTEP says 20, and so I want to make sure, again,
For solar, I believe it does say
Solar
20.
says 20. Can you call it up on our website, Jen? It's
Yes.
right on our website. And so I don't know if we want to violate the web, unless.
Our UTEP says we can go
Up to 20. Right. So that's just, I just want to make sure you guys know that. It's a conscious choice to change it, and I will, whatever you guys want.
So how's this board feel? I mean, do we want to stop a project over 5 years? I provided the feedback that was received from the community in Smyrna during the public hearing, which is their concern was going beyond 15 years. That was one of the top two concerns. The other was obviously what happens at the end. So, please share what you're feeling.
well, I represent the people that are there, so I understand their concerns. There's a lot of this is untested, and we haven't seen the duration of a lot of these projects, so. I'm backing that. I think that when, as the IDA steps in like that, we have to have some sense of, I think, concern that we're doing the right thing. So with that, unless I have data that specifically confirms, it would have to be reviewed by certainly an independent engineering firm. We don't have that, so standing behind my constituents, who are the ones who elected me, and I thought they were clear, there was clear thinking, lucid people that, you know, we as a town have a vested interest in it. So that's why people come out. We know that if this, something goes sour, it's going to be put onto the landowner, and eventually if that failed, we would be in a position where we may have to clean this up, especially if there were outside third-party effects, other people were being affected by this. So we would all be in, you know, in the responsible, we would be the responsible party if things go bad. So I'm looking at a more conservative, you know.
15-year timeframe, like.
I'm right, and like I say, I am speaking for the people, so, and for the board. I think it's in the best interest of the board and the folks that do it. If the program or if this solar panel system has merit, it should be able to go, it should be able to operate even without a pilot, in my opinion, but I guess that remains to be seen.
So the UTEP actually says the term of the pilot agreement shall be 20 years. So it doesn't say up to 20 years, and that's specifically for solar projects.
UTEP is what? It's called a uniform tax exempt policy. The board had asked me to work with Steve Harris to try to adopt something so we were consistent in how we apply these. I thought that's what it said, Mike, and I'm okay with changing it because every situation should be
We
different. And again,
That's
Mike, I think whether you were on this board or whether you were just a town board, town supervisor for Smyrna and coming here, it's a public hearing. I think you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, is say what your constituents feel, and then people vote on it based upon that input, right? I'm doing this, but that seems like exactly what you're supposed to do, and this board is supposed to do.
I don't
right?
want to be dicey like I'm doing a dual role here, but I think that the objectives are they kind of parallel each other. If it's good for the town of Smyrna, it's going to be good for the IDA, because the IDA is the overseeing, you know, party, and we have an oversight function. So.
You've had your township has had these projects already, and I think yours might even been even longer, 25, 30 years. What's your feedback?
The only issue, certainly the shorter the better, from our standpoint, both as a town and an IDA, I think. The only issue is whether they abandon the project because you're not going long enough. Who knows? You throw it out there and see what happens.
So would that require us to change, we would have to change our UTEP to say up to,
I
right?
believe you would, right?
Which is really what it should say anyways, right? Because what if we only want to go 5, 10 years, right?
Yeah, hopefully conditions change and you're right, at some point a pilot shouldn't be necessary.
So
Gene, what's the term, pilot term in the property tax law for solar installations? Is that 50?
That's the fair.
What was that again, about your question?
There's a pilot provision in the real property tax law regarding solar installations. And I'm reaching, but I think it might be 50.
What I will do is I will take it as an action item to go see Steve Harris again and just ask him some questions, but I don't think that precludes you guys from taking a vote on what was proposed, shortening it to 15 years and or altering our UTEP policy. I think you can do both, right? You can take a vote and say, hey, we're gonna make this 15 years with the acknowledgement that our UTEP policy says 20, and we have to, I don't know what word you have to go in, Brian, but.
all right, so what I would like
15 years.
is a motion to change our current UTEP policy to say up to 20 years.
So
Okay, can we get a second?
I'll second it with some
We'll
discussion.
discuss, yeah. So I've got a second by Jeff and discussion.
Okay. In light of what RC was saying,
do we need to wait till we hear from Steve Harris if it is noted at 50 years, we're gonna do this again next month, saying, give up to 15?
Actually, section 487 changed, just saying section
Section
487.
47 exempts all solar or wind energy systems from real property taxation for a period of 15 years unless a taxing jurisdiction opts out of section 487 or imposes a pilot after receiving a required notice from an owner or developer.
Which we didn't change.
Thank you. Already, I see, way to go. We should change that UTEP policy to say 15 years, but up to 15 years, that's what I would think, right? That makes
Well, it
sense.
says it's required to go at least 15 years, is that kind of what it
Did it
says?
say at least 15?
I did say at least, I don't think.
No, I think it is. I think
It
No, it
says
says-
15.
Section 487 exempts all solar or wind energy systems from real property taxation for a period of 15 years unless a taxing jurisdiction opts out of section 487 or imposes a pilot after receiving a required notice from an owner or developer.
So in other words, we can go longer,
Yes.
but we have to guarantee at least 50, it sounds like.
yes, it does sound like that. And I think most of the jurisdictions have opted out. I think most are requiring pilots. I don't know.
And we've had the discussion before that we never want to go longer. So I think the verbiage up to 20 would be sufficient in this case. Everybody agree on that?
Take up
Based
to
upon
20,
up to 20.
that's what you want to change to.
Because we may have, so as technology changes, maybe these things last 50 years.
Yeah.
You know, so we may have a situation
And if-
where,
If the county enters into an agreement with Acadia Energy and they convince us they could be 30 years, right, and I don't know, I get it, I get what you're saying.
yeah, just gives us some breathing room.
I hear you.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Raymond,
Corey, I,
Woodford, I.
Ledger,
Bert and I.
So that means I do not have to go see Steve Harris.
No, you can change the UTAP. Now, based upon the new UTAP, I don't want to keep holding this project up. So I'd like to be able to get the vote on this at the next meeting, if we could, the next step. So I would like to empower Sal to get full authority on this decommissioning statement, get it added to the contract with the appropriate stuff, and then we can move forward in the process at that point, if it's satisfactory to everybody, at the 15-year.
Yep, we'll get that changed in the contract agreement as well, that's true. That has to be changed with the lawyers, but we'll wait to go to the lawyers with both, Brian, until, Shane, if you don't mind taking that with you and spending a little time on that decommissioning thing and see if there's anything you see that's egregious we should change, and then I'll go to the lawyers with it. Yes, Mike, we have a question?
I'm not trying to supersede what you guys are doing, get in the way. We do have legal representation that oversees this project kind of independently of the IDA, so I can help confirm anything. And so one of our lawyers, and I got the benefit of the legal advice, so I'll share it. He was very concerned that there were no specifics on this, which you mentioned earlier, but figures, and those figures that if you're gonna go out 15 years, you've got to take into consideration the inflationary numbers that would change the equation. And he says he hasn't seen either regular numbers or inflation adjusted numbers. And of course, the bond is going to be based on the bottom line of what it's going to take to decommission this. And
just quickly looking at one of the documents, part of the package, it did allow for inflation. Reviewed it every year.
Yeah, 2.5%.
Mike, by all means, have somebody review it. and-
well, anything that you have, feel free, we can have a conversation about it. I can just check with him, you know, if you need anything verified or something that's,
Yeah, I will, but I'm gonna, what I'll do, this is Coughlin and Gerhard, is that who's got this? Jen?
Bond and Shonik.
Bond and Shane. So once Shane's had a chance to look at it, and then, maybe, I'll get with our lawyers and see if there's anything there that says okay, then hopefully I'll send it to you. If you want to do that, we can.
yeah, like you say, I'm just here as a resource.
So
hard numbers when it comes to what that looks like and what the cost of decommissioning would be with the 2% increase annual. I wonder if we could get verbiage in here that requires an estimated cost of kind of decommissioning from the company, from the solar companies. Much like this one. As part of this decommissioning agreement, if they have to present that, otherwise we're going blind, right? They can tell us it's 150% of the decommissioning cost, but what do we know? Any of us ever decommissioned a solar farm? No.
Right, you good? $2,000.
Yeah.
Take it away.
What do you think?
I agree with that, Bob. What I'm trying to figure out is, okay, I'm trying to figure out where to add it, because it says, so if we look at the agreement, and I'm totally just trying to execute this the right way, so we say, okay, whereas the owner has agreed to submit a final decommissioning plan and decommissioning bond as defined below, providing that Chenango County and whomever else, blah, 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 set forth so below, prior to obtaining of, so it says here, it said decommissioning bond shall be in the initial amount of blank, which represents no, so then they're going to have to, so how do we determine that their estimate is accurate?
It says right in here that it's based on a consultant and the.
That's right, and that's in here, so that's what I'm trying, I think it's covered in here, Brian, but this is what I wanna make sure, what you're asking about, we wouldn't know how to do that, they'd be giving us the chart, you get an outside person to do that for you, an independent person, and that's the type of stuff I wanna make sure Shane looks at, because I wanna know how enforceable it is.
It just comes back with another form that says, okay, this is what we had to go by. It's tangibles, which was part of our audit, right? We were asking questions of these companies, but we weren't getting the tangibles on it, right? We weren't having them put it in writing. We weren't putting it in writing. I know they would put a number in here, but there's not necessarily a schedule. I like the schedule.
I think we're covered, Brian.
Are we?
If you look at the second from the last line,
Okay.
details of the expected decommissioning activities and costs described on the decommissioning plan. That's the one which incorporated the decommissioning.
Perfect, so it's in there. Okay, never mind.
All right, buddy. That's why I want to have people like Shane and RC look at it, because they get those things, and I miss them too, Brian.
So
So,
what you're gonna end up happening, what you'll end up happening is you're gonna essentially have that,
they're gonna have to create it, right, RC?
that detail will be attached as part of that.
As part of their decommissioning plan. That's exactly right. So that's why I read it that way, but I'm telling you, I get nervous. I say, is this really gonna make them do what you want it to do? And I think it does, because again, Barbara's over this, and Ben, these guys are pretty buttoned up on this stuff, so just trying to copy people we know do about it.
That's like the annual, there is an escalator in here that's based on the annual rate of inflation.
Yeah.
And then it's up to 100%, so we should be covered, and I think that's what people, when I heard them, were worried about the light, and what do you do when it's not here anymore? And I think you're trying to address that.
Good. Okay, so we good to move forward?
I'll go with the orders.
Old business, railroad update, Bill AC, Shane Butler presentation. Bill's not here, but I see Shane is. Shane, are you ready to present anything today?
I can if you want.
You're on the agenda, so go ahead, buddy.
So basically, as you know, the village of Sherburne has a grant through NIPA to put fiber broadband into the village. Based on their capacity, they've got a lot more capacity based on the equipment that they have to do more. Potentially, they could serve probably the entire county with the capacity they have. So the proposal that is still working through, it's not a done deal, it's just a raw idea right now, is that they want to get to Binghamton basically, to basically use that as a redundancy so that if their server goes out, they have another kind of backup, kind of like electric grid where you have, like a circuit. That's what they want to do with broadband basically, so that if they go out, they have someone else that can hook them up and send the broadband up to them. So there are providers in Binghamton that they want to get to. Well, what is the easiest route with one owner down to Binghamton?
It's not Route 12?
Not Route 12.
And then on top of that, Hamilton wants a part of what Sherburne's doing, so they want to run it all the way to Utica.
And so does Otsego County.
There's another hub.
So basically the idea is we can use the railroad. There's a piece of equipment that can be run down the railroad as like an engine, where it digs up the side of the railroad, buries fiber optic, and then covers it back up all the way down through. So that is consistent with it still being able to use the railroad, but also having that value-added broadband fiber optic cable. So we actually have a meeting tomorrow with an entity to see if they would get some buy-in. We've met with Jen Gregory already, me, Sal, Jen, and Bill. Based on Jen's thinking, there is a funding opportunity currently available. We have to have, I believe, the application in by September 15th. So that's
She was very, I don't shame them, but honestly, Bill Acey's reputation with her and his success up there, and Shane's relationship and success with her, I don't want to get too far out of it. She said of all the projects that were going to submit for this funding opportunity, this was by far the best, right? So she was very
Right,
excited.
so what it'll do is, the grant application, I believe, is part of the IIJA, which is kind of part of that funding package that the Congress had passed through COVID. And she did pitch it to the planning directors across the region, and they were okay with that because it does serve more than just Chenango County. It would serve other counties as well. Yeah, we are meeting tomorrow to see if that's a feasible option, and then Jen and I would then write the application. The only thing is, based on the application, you have to have a basic agency. She's already talked to some other state agencies, and they are already willing to be the basic agency. So that clears up that hurdle. So just continue along the line to get this ahead.
It could be a big deal. I mean, I don't want to, but the railroad is very supportive of it, very cooperative, and it doesn't preclude us from anything else we ever might want to do with the railroad. So I think that from running the railroad to not running the railroad. So I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't pursue it hard. Because in AC's words, you can light up the whole valley with high-speed internet. And imagine the attractiveness of that as Mike Klein looks for other little pockets and hubs and places. And I mean, being a dreamer, imagine if you could combine that with the work that Shane's doing with Acadia Energy and have places that could power a local plant within 5 miles and have high-speed internet wherever you want to put it. I mean, it seems like a pretty cool opportunity for our regions. And by the way, they also spoke about, that wouldn't, doing this high-speed fiber optics, that wouldn't preclude you from running that electricity up and down the railroad wherever it needs to go as well. That's an obvious conduit for potential electric delivery, underground and above ground. So they were very supportive, got a lot of potential, but there's a lot of work to do. Pretty exciting, I think.
So our involvement with that would be as we would lease, have it sublease,
Maybe there'd be
or
like
with
an
the
easement.
railroad
It
sublease.
probably result in an easement of some sort to be able to use that line.
I think, it was, our lease expires, and this was the key thing that I think really became evident to everybody, including all those that have been asking us about the railroad, is that our lease expires in March of 2025. Jenna and I were exploring, I don't know, we have not had that meeting yet, whether or not we have any obligation to the state yet for that
I
grant.
haven't received a response back
Yeah,
from
we
them.
gotta
I'll
hit that again.
I'll
So
bug them again.
Nathan Fennell, President of, does not think the IDA has any obligation. So we could end the lease whenever we wanted to, but even when the lease expires, we could extend it. There's lots of options. But what's key is if the IDA does not sign the lease, the land does not revert to the IDA, it reverts to the railroad. And then the railroad needs to figure out what do they want to do with it, right? And so that's what they're working on us with, what do they want to do. And I think there's some exciting opportunities. And I think honestly, I don't want to speak, Nathan Fennell's he's not as energetic as I am. He was very cooperative, and he seemed like he was open to the ideas.
Good. Any questions at this point for Shane? Infancy, right? Just keep us abreast of how the grant process is going. So thank you, Shane. Board organization. Well, part of that was here today.
Yeah, that was an agenda item. I know that we want to consider Ron has been gracious to say he will stay on as long as we need to. Everybody understands moving parts. Jeff, I'm not sure. I love having him on this board. Obviously, things change if your role changes, and you guys should consider and ask, is the board the way you want it to be comprised? Is there people on here that are, new people and old people? Randy stepping up made me feel funny. I don't know why he did. And so it's like, okay, do we have the right mix? It's just a question. Somebody's got to eventually take over for Brian Burton because he wants to stay on the board but not be the chair. And so that is a big role, because that role also gets a seat on the Commerce Board. And so, I have the DCC board. It's a big role. And so it's a big job. And it's something that, again, it's important because this voice gives a voice to the economic development into that world, which can get a little chambery sometimes, right? So we've got to make sure that we do that. And so Brian does a wonderful job of it. And so just think about it. I don't want you guys to think that. Remember, George or Jeff, or whoever that next person is, that seat should consider, what does this board look like? Because this is a really well-run board.
Is there anybody sitting here right now that's interested in being chairman?
On
So,
everybody jumping.
I know there's some political movement.
Sal kind of led into that subject.
So I know there's some potential political movement in November, right?
Right.
That's right. That's what I'm trying to consider too.
So I have told Sal that until everything's worked out and everybody knows what they're doing, and again, that I would continue at this point, but I really, if we get to May again and I'm still chairman, I definitely will not be running for chairman at that point. So
Appreciate that you're staying on during the in the elections.
I truly do enjoy it. It's just, and that's why I want to stay on the board. So we won't be losing a board seat. Just don't want to have to necessarily be tied down to the other meetings. And in all fairness, those meetings were fast and furious, the DCC and the chamber, as things were getting involved. We had to hire a new executive director. There was, the boards weren't necessarily put together as they should have been according to bylaw. So we were meeting a lot more than I anticipated. That has since cooled off. So it is a little easier, which is why I don't mind.
This board meets the most frequently of anybody. The other boards meet once a quarter, I think, right? So it's not, this board meets the most frequently. This is the one that's the most, requires the most, right? But that other one, I try to keep it to, we try to be respectful. And so we know that the DCC person has to attend to, so we try to be very respectful and try to make sure we put people in and out.
So with that being said, with board organization, Randy was the secretary and treasurer. We currently have an assistant secretary and treasurer. Do you guys want me to move them up? Because we'll need to make a motion and a resolution. Currently, it's Jeff as the assistant secretary and treasurer, but I don't know if Jeff wants to move up too.
He can do those jobs in the absence of treasurer and
Yes.
secretary right now.
Yes.
I think we're talking 2 months until things could change.
Shake out.
So not change it
instead
now,
of doing a
wait.
bunch of banking
Okay.
paperwork and all that good stuff, we
Okay.
just, are you okay with just staying in?
Second thing is we need to do a resolution to appoint RC as one of the board members. So I'll pass that down.
Reappoint them according to the bylaws. I think
Well-
it's appointed by the.
So it is appointed, but to accept the appointment.
Oh,
The IDA has to say, okay, yes, we agree with the supervisor.
I'll make I need a motion to approve RC Whitford by our board. Got it first by Pete, second by Jeff. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Welcome aboard, that's all.
Okay.
Very popular.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. So, all good. Thank you, Jeff.
I'll need your
Yeah, so
signature after,
again,
Brian.
in my opinion,
Your signature.
especially because there could be political movement, let's just assume that we know that there's going to be.
Mistake on their Puckett Solar has not paid. Sorry about that.
And Alvin paid is.
Alvagen and Highbridge both are paid.
Highbridge paid.
Yes.
Do we have a reason to go into executive session today? Hearing none, take a motion for adjournment.
So
RC, second by Mike,
I'm always in on that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, appreciate your time.
Right on the button, Brian.
Try to keep it